I was raised to become a greedy gold digger. But once you hear about my story, you wouldn't judge me for my choices. Hi, I'm Beth, and ever since I was born, I often slept outside motel room doors while my mom was working inside. On such nights, at least Mom was able to buy me a warm dinner. Other nights, we would break into people's houses, and when I say we, I mean me. Mom always said I was a minor and couldn't go to jail, so she made me climb through open windows at night and steal whatever I found. One time I accidentally woke up this scared little girl. She was about to start screaming, but I'm a good liar and told her I was the tooth fairy. I said, "If you tell anyone that you saw me, then I'll make all your teeth fall out." The following night I came back to visit her, this time with a little tooth fairy crown. I told her to bring me some food from her fridge. We ate some cornflakes together, and then I asked her if her mom likes to wear jewelry. She nodded, so I asked where it was hidden. She made a sign to follow her, and together we crawled into her parents' bedroom. But when she opened the drawer and it made that squeaky noise, her dad woke up. "What are you doing there?" "I'm helping the tooth fairy." "Oh, it's the middle of the night, and put Mom's bracelet back down." She crawled into her parents' bed, and I used my chance to grab the bracelet and crawl out. I had no idea if it was worth much until I got out of the house. Only then I saw that it was a real diamond tennis bracelet. We later sold it for $4,000, which was more than we've ever had before. But Mom spent it all on drugs, so that kinda sucked. Things got worse when Mom started dating one of her clients. Yes, we were allowed to stay in his apartment, but Mom started to completely lose it. I woke up one morning and saw Mom sitting and watching me with her eyes super wide. I said, "You're scaring me, Mom. And you look just like your dad." What? I thought you didn't know who my dad was." "Oh, I know. We can go visit him right now if you want." "Well, I think you're on drugs, but sure, let's get some fresh air." Right as we leave the house, Mom walks over to a mother and her baby, leans over the stroller and pukes right on the poor little thing. The mother completely loses it and starts beating my mom with her handbag. I felt so bad because there was nothing I could do for my mom. She probably needed a psychologist, but I had no money for one. So I just packed my bag and left her, hoping that someday I could get her some therapy. I decided to walk into the richest neighborhood of my city and knock on doors. "I'm looking for a job. I'll do anything," I said, and this old lady took pity on me. Her husband had just died, and she must have been lonely. Meanwhile, I was a street kid, a savage. The woman gave me shelter and food, and in exchange I helped a bit with the housework and robbed her left and right. Had I been smarter, I would have treated her well and made sure to get her inheritance. But I was a fool and got addicted to the good life. I spent $1,000 each month on clothes alone and made friends with other rich girls from my neighborhood. It was a fancy life, but when I turned 18, the old lady had enough of my behavior and threw me out. I was unwilling to go back into poverty and asked around if any of the other neighbors needed a babysitter or maid. Sure, I was uneducated and not anyone's first choice, but I had heard rumors that one of the neighbors was not getting along with his wife anymore. So I knocked on his door and said, "Hey neighbor, I'm really in need for a job because my grandma just threw me out. Are you looking for a babysitter?" "No, not really." "Are you sure? Because I would stay overnight to take care of your kids and help you with anything you want. I also heard gossip that you and your wife have relationship problems and that she moved into a hotel. So let's just see how things turn out." He looked dazzled but let me in. His kids were already asleep, so we sat down to drink some wine and talk. I made up lies to make him pity me, like saying I had been in and out of foster care my whole life. But I don't think that was even necessary. I mean, I was young and good-looking, and he was in his 40s and frustrated with his wife. I quickly had him under my spell. We went to bed together, and I thought I had made it. Finally, a guy with enough resources to take care of me. But after a week of us living together, he told me he was going to try again with his wife. I responded, "Am I not good enough for you?" "Oh, I'm doing it strictly for my kids. I don't want them to go through a divorce." Well, his wife moved back in and she hated me. She told me to stop wearing yoga pants and kept telling her husband to throw me out. She said they didn't need a babysitter. Honestly, I don't understand why a man would stay with a woman like her. She was overweight, old, and did nothing but complain. But he gave in to her demands and threw me out. I mean, he also rented me a one-bedroom apartment in the city where he secretly visited me behind his wife's back, but I still felt like a second-class citizen. One time, he promised to take me out for dinner on a Friday night, but canceled it last minute because his wife made problems. I realized I couldn't just be a mistress, but that I needed to marry a rich guy to be secure. I first tried to find a rich man at top-end bars, but it didn't work out. They already had many girls around them and many prettier than me. So I decided to instead just get pregnant by my sugar daddy. If he had kids with his current wife and me, he'd choose me over her any day, I thought. But as irony would have it, on the day I took my first pregnancy test, which came out negative, I had a plumber come by my home to fix the drain. He actually dared to ask me, "Any plans for tonight?" "Yeah, I'll go to a fancy dinner." Oh God, how boring. You should do something instead. Like let me take you out to a bar. I couldn't believe how confident this guy was. Here he was on his knees fixing my sink and still flirting with me as if I was below him. "Well, what job are you working?" he asked me. The blood rushed in my face. I knew I was nothing but a gold digger and I was embarrassed about it. "None of your business," I replied. "Well, can I come back tomorrow? The sink isn't fixed yet?" "Oh, it's fixed, but I'm curious about you. You talk like a girl from the streets, but live in this nice place? I want to know your secret." You know when you sometimes just get along well with someone? That's how I felt with this guy. His name was Tom, and he came over to my apartment the next day, where we kept talking about the crappy families we grew up in. He told me his dad was in a biker gang, and one day, he and another guy from his gang were ordered to assassinate a biker from a rivaling gang, but the target turned out to be an old friend of his dad. So, his dad took his weapon and knocked his gang brother out instead of the target. Afterward, he had to flee states with his son because his old biker gang swore to cut out his tattoo. I could quickly tell that Tom and I had lots of things in common. Not just our drug-addicted parents, but we both grew up poor, and that shapes you in a certain way. When he took me to his apartment, I saw cockroaches crawling across the floor, and he only had a mattress. Sure, I had grown up in similar bad conditions and didn't want to go back to it, but next to Tom, I felt like I could be myself. Money didn't seem so important anymore. When I told him that I had a sugar daddy, he even called me smart for making such easy money. He didn't judge me, and I soon realized that love was more important to me than financial security. So I dropped my sugar daddy and started dating Tom. I was sure everything would be perfect. What I didn't know was that feeling of being in love can blind you. Sure, Tom was a fun and charismatic guy, but also very irresponsible and unambitious. We couldn't afford healthy food and had to eat lots of pasta and bread, which made me feel tired and sleepy. I just recently found out that I'm gluten intolerant. And worse was that Tom was always exhausted after work. He came home groggy and there was no passion or energy. So I broke up with him. Luckily, my old sugar daddy wanted me back. So at age 20, everything is back to what it was before.